Okay, so let's get into the real juice then. Um, what are the different organizations saying regarding engagement? And you could easily spend $250,000 or pounds on all of this to say, I need some consulting, come and help me understand what are the key drivers for employee engagement. You can buy books, you can read white papers, you can come up with your own if you have the time and the methodology to get to the bottom of what really drives high engagement. Companies like Google and Facebook have done that. So they have spent enough time and energy on finding out on their own what really drives, best teams, better managers, and better decision making. So this is a view around the different geographies. As you can see, some of it is regionally orientated. Some of it is just a generic kind of to say what are the top 10 drivers. Some refer to these as the levers. There's also another model that I want to share, and I personally like this model a lot because it simplifies something that can be quite a complex subject. So this is essentially saying employee engagement consists of three different components. So if you look at your total population, and if you were to stop anyone in an office or on a shop floor to say, can you tell me where we are going and how we will get there? Can you tell me if you believe in our organization, in what we are doing, and and that you have an innate desire to want us to succeed? And lastly, in my tiny role, in my tiny universe, I'm the receptionist or I'm the CEO, it doesn't matter. In what I'm responsible to be doing and achieving, I know what needs to be done, and I will go the extra mile if that is required. If you get just those three components right, I guarantee to you, you don't need any of those 25 levers and 10 levers and geographic spreads and any of that. And I actually got more lined up for you later on. So this is another lens to look at engagement, and this is the one that I use with my finance people and with commercial leaders very much. And some of them really don't like it because it disproves some of the old thinking of some of our old-fashioned leaders, essentially. So, you always get into this discussion of whether someone is paid enough or whether a big pay rise is needed or how to motivate people. So this model looks at two things. One is it looks at, you see here on the axis, the initial impact on engagement, and they call it engagement capital, just to find a fancy title for it. And the other one is the actual decline in the impact per month. So from fast to slow and from low to high. So what you can see here is, this is for me the real gold mine. So this is something that drives up engagement pretty quickly. So it's a high acceleration, it's a high rev, and it's a very slow decay. And if you look at these things, a thank you from a senior leader, a development opportunity, a non-cash award, a meaningful career discussion with a line manager, or an organization-sponsored celebration, a volunteering opportunity, a meaningful training. Yes, there's also the significant pay increase, but arguably that has less value than everything else that sits in this top quadrant. So you see, this is where sometimes the data speaks for itself, which is, yes, dear line manager, I understand you would like to double everyone's pay, but let me tell you, it will be a very, quick fix. And guess what? A month or 2 months into that high salary, everyone would just assume they have been paid below their market level anyway. So that was a necessary adjustment. It won't sustain high levels of engagement forever. And surely the things you could be all doing as senior leaders are some of the things you see here. So some of it is high rev, but fast decay. So an inspiring communication from a senior leader, or inspiring communication for your direct line manager. And organization-wide communication about the pride and the element of belonging and how everyone is part of the organization. A simple thank you from manager. I mean, if you're interested in neuroscience, there's a lot of good science out there suggesting a genuine thank you, either individually or in front of a team, achieves a lot more then a star award of £150, of which only £79 are net, of which you won't be able to tell the difference at the end of the day. So again, this is for you one more resource to look at. And lastly, this is what I have come up with during my 20 something years working for these organizations. What to do post-survey. If you do still the old-fashioned once a year kind of survey, we have moved away from it. We are now doing something very different and radically different. But if you were to do at least a once a year or twice a year kind of survey, you should spend some time, and not too much time, to check the initial survey results. You should calibrate and draw some key lessons. You should quickly move into committing to take action. This is what we did with the post-COVID survey. The first survey came in, people were complaining about tech. It was a big surprise, but frankly, we never had 100,000 people dialing in from their home. So we had to act quickly. And then you could actually take this communicate part of the pie and make it go around all the way. And then you measure and improve. And then comes the next survey cycle. So really simple, but I can tell you a lot of big companies still get this wrong, or spend 60% of their time here, 30% of the time politicizing things here, and then there comes little time to commit to action. And then they communicate what they had already lined up to do anyway and try to link it back to the survey, and come around the next survey time and everyone says, I actually don't really see any real improvement as a result of what I gave to the organization in terms of my opinion. I really don't think management is acting upon the survey. And that is the one key lever to lead into this engagement. And then the last thing is, I won't be covering all 10, but I'm going to take one on each slide. So what I call the 10 warning signs, and I've been guilty in that camp. So where HR is very visibly taking the lead in the survey effort. So when I came to London into this role that I'm doing right now, one of my finance leadership team members, I mean, this guy is a very senior leader. He asked me to come and present his survey results to his all hands. And for a moment, I thought that was a joke, but he was actually serious. And I said, look, I would be very happy to do that if you were to come and present my results back to my team. How about that? It just doesn't make any sense. If this is suddenly seen as an HR task, or, oh, we're not the experts, we don't understand anything about engagement. No, you do. And we are here to facilitate. And by the way, let's look at this. When was the last time you thanked someone in your team? When was the last time you took time to sit down and have a meaningful career conversation? When was the last time you drafted a communication that was also personal and not just the corporate lip service that most organization announcements include? When was the last time you sat down to write something down? I'm talking about your handwriting, not a letter from shared services, to say congratulations to someone who was promoted in your team, and to say what you appreciate about this individual. Just one or two attributes, no more. It's a 3-minute job. And I can tell you that activity, that one act of kindness and generosity will pay a dividend over many, many years. And so this is just one. And then if we were to take another one on the next page, just to finish this off. Yeah, let's focus on the quick wins. Yeah, sure. So you focus on the quick wins this year. The next survey cycle surely comes around and you focus on the quick wins. Guess what? It's not going to be sustainable, and nothing is going to change and transform, because all you do is to look at the easy peasy stuff, and the easy peasy stuff doesn't hurt, and that's fine, and that's good. If you're at 80% engagement, I will probably argue to say you don't have too much deep dive and too many deep lessons to act upon anyway. But if you're in the 50s and 60s, my God, you better do look very deeply as to what you can change and how you can bring about a high level of engagement. And for that, a quick fix approach, I'm afraid won't do it. So, and this is the last slide before we open up for questions. The one thing I want to say is, I've been really, really fortunate as an HR leader to have worked for amazing organizations, and I've been always involved in this space, engagement. So I've been running this as a global project. I've been the owner of engagement in some of my previous roles. But the truth of the matter is that people don't change unless there is reason for change. And I believe personally, if I look at the whole COVID and the Corona situation, this is a once in a 100-year opportunity, not only to believe in change, but to really drive it. And we essentially have a whiteboard that's been wiped clean. There's no looking back. And I think we all are better off by forgetting to talk about the future, because the future is now. And so the question is, how do we remove the veil of all the clutter and reveal the real vulnerability and what we can do, and be passionate about what we do in HR and for our organization. And the last thing I want to say is what I've shared with you is quite generic, because I wanted to address this for an audience. I understand all three networks are coming together for the session today. So if any one of you wanted to have just a one-on-one with me on this topic, or on your own dilemmas and challenges when it comes to engagement, I'm more than happy to offer up a one-on-one Zoom session and just be there to help and to serve. And with that, Richard, I'm gonna stop sharing and giving the microphone back to you. Thank you.
Yes, Navid.